I turned our 2010 Toyota Corolla into a camper that sleeps two with $150 and about 10 hours of work. Let's chat about how we did it. So I did do this build with my partner Jeremy. He honestly was more the worker person and I was more the photographer, but he couldn't be in this video just because I need to get it up on time and he has to work and whatever. So if you have any questions maybe I don't explain super clearly in here, you can DM them to me on Instagram at Diaries of Creativity, or you can put them in the comments below, and we're going to be we're going to be really good at responding to comments and DMs. So either of those options work great to get in contact with me so we can answer any of your questions. I'm just going to go through this step by step and show the videos to go along with it. This is a really fun build. We're actually leaving for our first road trip this week in 2 days with it. So if you're interested in seeing vlogs of us actually using the setup, there's going to be so many vlogs on this channel that you're watching this on at Diaries of Tay. So yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting, and I hope you are excited to see them with me because I'm excited to use this as a camper. So first step is we watched a bunch of YouTube videos just like the one that you're watching right now. We did a lot of research. There was the option of just taking out the back seats and then chucking a mattress in and calling it a day. And I just think that's a viable option if you're only going to use this a couple times. We were planning to use this, hopefully do a bunch of road trips with it. So because of that, we thought it was worth it to do the full build and spend the $150 on wood and supplies to do that. But there always is the option of just chucking in a mattress, and I'm sure that you've seen that option. The video that we inspired our build based on, even though we did change quite a bit of things, is one by Oliver King called a DIY Car Camper Build 2003 Toyota Corolla, including plans. His plans that he used, we based a lot of our design off of, although we did make some major tweaks to it to make it a bit more functional for two people specifically. But that is the main video that we watched that we kind of got inspiration from, and that we really liked the look of his build, so we took a lot of inspiration from that. The second step is to take the seats out. That's kind of the first thing you have to do. You can do as much measurement as you want with the seats already in it, but at the end of the day, your measurements are going to be different once the seats are out. So it's really, really easy. We just looked up a YouTube video on how to take seats out of a Toyota Corolla, and it was super easy. Look it up for whatever car you're building for. I think it was like 5 bolts maybe, and a couple like metal pieces that just like easily popped off when the bolts came out. Number 3, and the most important part, is that we measured our car. We did make a mistake here, so I want to show you how to avoid that mistake. But our idea was to go with one big piece of plywood in the middle that takes up the narrowest section of the car going this way. So if like you have everything out of the car, the seats out, we were going to have one piece of plywood or one piece of wood, whatever you choose to use, going flat from the end of the car to the back of the seats. And that was kind of the main measurement we needed to get down. However, because the middle of the seats are on a little bit of a curve, we measured the narrowest part on the ground. This wasn't the right place to measure. It's how it was measured in Oliver's video that I referenced, and that's great. But for us, because we were sleeping 2 people, it would have been best to measure a little bit farther up because we were going to have a 2x4 frame underneath the piece of plywood. Hi, just popping in here to make this a lot shorter and a lot more clear than I originally explained it. Basically, we measured the bottom part that you can see here that's flat to the ground. But as you can see, the Toyota Corolla inside has this little curve, so we should have measured 4 inches up because the frame is going to be on a 2x4 and measured that line there. I hope that makes a lot more sense for you. Do this correctly if you want to have a little bit of a bigger bed because it does give you a decent amount more size if you account for the 4-inch frame. So we ended up fixing this, and we'll walk you through the process of how we fixed this mistake. But just measure, if you're using a 2x4, the 2x4 is on its side, so it's 4 inches tall. So if you want to do this yourself, I would recommend measuring 4 inches off the lowest part and then see how long that is, because the platform is going to be raised on a frame. TLDR, take into account that your piece of plywood is going to be on top of a frame that's 4 inches higher, and measure with that in mind. Number 4, after we measured, we went to Home Hardware to get the supplies. Go to whatever, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever works for you. Home Hardware is Canadian, so that's what I support. But yeah, went to Home Hardware and we got the supplies. And our supplies were 2x4s to build the frame, and of course we used our measurements here to ensure we had enough length. Your measurements are going to be different from mine, but just go off that. We needed plywood to lay on top. We needed hinges because we wanted to add storage to the trunk. And we needed wood screws to build the frame with. And that's kind of all. Our total came to about $150. We did pay for one cut just so that it would fit into our car. The plywood would fit into our car to bring it home. But other than that, we did all the cuts at home with some tools that we borrowed from a friend. Number 5. So your first step is going to be to build the frame. As I mentioned before, we wanted one main piece of plywood that took up the majority of the space. The frame design was super simple. We just remeasured, the entire time. Every step, just remeasure. And of course, like as I mentioned before, the plywood piece should account for the fact that it's going to be 4 inches taller due to the frame. But to measure the frame, obviously that's going to have to sit on the ground. So measure the shortest part where the frame can sit on even ground, or even ground for the most part. Cars are a little bit wonky and not perfectly plain, but So we made that frame literally just a rectangle and a middle bar. We didn't make the edges 45 degrees or anything. We just put 90 degree to 90 degree, and we used wood screws to fill that in. We used a couple wood screws on each of the sections where wood had to combine, just because there are going to be 2 humans laying on this and sleeping. So we wanted to make sure that was safe and no breakage would happen, because that'd be extremely annoying. But this was definitely the easiest step. And once you have this in the car, I think it's a lot easier to visualize the rest of the project. Once the frame was built, we moved on to the main plywood rectangle in the middle, this main piece of bed. This is where you're going to be sleeping for the most part. This is when we realized our error in our measurement, because we put the piece of plywood onto the frame and we were like, that bed could be bigger. That bed could be bigger if we wanted it to be, and we did want it to be. Again, if there was just one of us sleeping in here, I think we would have just left this. And in the Oliver King video that I referenced a bunch of times now, he had this. This is how he had built his, and it was fine. I think his car is just him sleeping in it. But because there's 2 of us, we needed every single little bit of space that we could get. So we saw that there was room for more plywood and more surface to sleep, so we built that. How we added this on is we just added another piece of plywood. We cut the extra space that we could have. We added an extra piece of plywood, and we just secured this using other pieces of plywood and screwing it down just to make sure that they stay together. But with that put into the car, we had to move on to the extra side pieces now. We started in the trunk because these were the pieces we were just really excited about, because they were going to be on hinges and then pull up and down for storage. So we were really excited to make these. You could measure this out, which would take a lot of time just because there's so many curves. But what we chose to do is use a cardboard template, and we just templated the shape of it, drew it out, cut it out. If it was too big, we put it in, would cut it some more, and then once we got a perfect shape in there, or what seemed close enough, we cut that out using a table saw. And then we would notice, oh, it's a little bit wonky, not great, it's a little bit too long in this place, whatever, and then we just cut it and keep cutting it until it fit right. And then we ended up using a jigsaw just to curve around some curves in the car naturally. This isn't necessary. We could have just cut straight lines. So if you don't have a jigsaw, literally no problem at all. You could use a circular saw or a table saw and just kind of cut straight lines. But the jigsaw was an option, so we used it. Once we got one of the shapes perfect, we ended up just putting hinges and screwing that in. The reason why we didn't do both the pieces at one time was because there was a chance that we would screw it in a little bit off-centered, or after the screws are in, it would fit differently. So we just wanted to make sure one was already screwed in, and then after that is already in place and we know that it works, we worked on the other one. And the next step was doing the pieces similar to how they are in the trunk by the car doors. Again, we did the exact same trick of using a cardboard template here, and our original plan was to use L brackets to hold these in place, but we didn't feel like we got sturdy enough L brackets at the hardware store, and this is why I didn't include this on our shopping list, because we actually didn't end up using these. We're going to wait and just get better L brackets, but Jeremy wanted this done this day, so he ended up just taking pieces left over from our 2x4s and putting those into a T shape and using those as our bracket, which ended up being way sturdier than any L bracket could have been. Honestly, if I were to make this again, I would just screw the L brackets completely and go for the 2x4 just because so much sturdier. Basically just took a little piece of 2x4, we attached it to the frame, screwed it into the frame, and then we put our piece of plywood that curves into the doors right on top. And finally, we added this piece that we got off of Amazon. This is kind of where the build changes a lot from Oliver's, because he has something that slides down and up in his video. So definitely watch his if you want a different thing than this piece off Amazon. So anyway, we just popped this piece over top of the seats, and then it fills that gap between the back of the seats and the front of the bed. Honestly, if you're shorter, you might even not need this. For example, I don't feel again, if I was going in this alone, I would have even added that piece. I would have been fine with just the frame because it's taller than me, but Jer is 6'3", and this whole build comes out to about 6'4". God bless. God bless that he isn't like 2 inches taller than he is. So this piece is necessary to add extra real estate for us, but honestly, depending on your height, I would try it out without this piece and without adding anything there, and then see what you need from there. And for a mattress, we ended up finding this old foam that my parents just had lying around, and we put that in the car. We cut one piece with an electrical knife and fit that in. Honestly, looking back though, we probably should have cut these to 2 even pieces so that one of us, being probably Jeremy, not me, doesn't have to sleep in like the crack of the mattress. We probably should have taken 2 pieces of foam and cut them evenly so it's like 2 mattresses. But we didn't do that, so that's okay. We'll see how it is. Again, if you want to know an update on all the stuff we did, anything we would change, we'll definitely be filming a bunch of stuff when we're on the road, and then we'll also be filming maybe an updated video on how we liked our build, what we would change maybe, and mentioning that in some of the vlogs too. So if you want more information, definitely go check those out. They'll be coming out in a couple weeks. That's kind of it. That's the build, and then we're just putting in a double sheet and a comforter and our regular pillows on there, so we're gonna sleep just like we would at home. I'm so excited to take this on the road. We are doing some stealth camping. By the time you've seen this, we're like halfway through our trip, but we're actually sleeping in the Quebec City Walmart parking lot in 2 days for me filming this. So I'll let you know. We'll definitely be vlogging that to let you know how that goes. It'll be interesting. I've never slept in a car before, like in public, or I think generally, honestly, and I'm scared, but I'm excited. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. I do not take for granted the fact that you carved time out of your day to spend it with me. Thank you so much. I love you so much. And happy camping. And if you're one of my regular vlog watchers and this video is like so out of left field and you're like, what the heck? I just wanted to watch her doing cozy hobbies. I'm sorry, this is a very random vlog, but I wanted to put this on here because we're going to be doing all of our camping content on this channel. So I just wanted to make sure that everything was in the same place, all of the above, A, B, and C. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed, and if you watch this and you have no interest in ever building out your car to be a camper and you still watch this video, know that you are in my dreams tonight, and I love you so much because that is the kindest thing ever. I love you. Bye!